Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and I have my top 5 Apple Watch 4 tips for you. These are tips that are going to work with either version of the Apple Watch 4, and some of these actually will work on any version of an Apple Watch running the latest version of the software, but some of these are going to be specific to the Apple Watch 4. So the first is a software specific, it's not app specific. Of course, you know when you're on your main watch face, you can swipe down and get your notifications, and you can swipe up to get to Control Center. But if you go into an app, that's where things get a little bit tricky. Maybe you're in an app such as a music app or something like that, and you want to get to your notifications. Well, swiping down does nothing. But if you kind of tap or not even tap and hold, just rest your finger at the top, you'll see your notifications start to pop down, and then you can swipe down and get access to those notifications. Control Center works the same way, it's just at the very bottom. So just kind of rest your finger at the bottom, you'll see Control Center start to peek up, and then of course you can access Control Center right there. That was kind of a game changer for me because I absolutely hated the fact that when I was in another screen, for example, when I'm at the gym and the workout app is up, I would have to hit the home button, wait for the animation for it to go back to the main screen, the watch face screen, and then swipe and do the gestures. Whereas now I don't have to worry about that. I can be on a music app screen or on the workout screen or on any other app, which some of these are persistent apps that will be showing up as long as you're utilizing that activity on the watch. So being able to just rest your finger on the top and swipe down, or on the bottom and swipe up for those two features is definitely a time saver and way less frustrating than having to go all the way back to your main screen. And especially if you're wanting to check something while not losing your place on one of those screens from within some other app. So definitely an awesome feature and a little bit of a tip there. So if you are on an Apple Watch 4 and you do like taking your heart rate, obviously your watch is constantly taking your heart rate in the background. But if you're wanting to take your heart rate, perhaps after getting done with doing, running or doing anything fitness related, you tap on that heart icon, or you go into the app, and it starts to take your heart rate, and the refresh rate on it's pretty slow. And maybe you're like me, you're like, okay, just trying to relax and get that number lower. It takes a little bit of time for it to react. But if you're on an Apple Watch 4 that has that digital crown, you can just put your finger on the side there, and now it's got another point of contact for conductivity on your skin, and it's able to refresh every second. So now every second that number is refreshing, instead of every, I think, like 5 or 10 seconds that number refreshes. And so I absolutely like that because that gives me more feedback quicker. And I don't have to sit there and wait as I watch that number decrease or whatever. It's an interesting feature. It's not like super useful, but if you do check your heart rate quite often, especially if you're someone who bought the Apple Watch for the purposes of keeping an eye on your heart health, it's definitely a useful feature because now you're not wasting as much time sitting there waiting for it to update. You're able to just rest your finger on the crown and have it update much faster. So another new feature of the software is being able to just raise your watch and have Siri activate. The idea is that when you raise your watch, it's automatically going to go into Siri, and you don't have to say, "Hey Siri" anymore, which I think is great. I never liked using Siri or even Google Assistant because you typically had to invoke it using "Hey whatever," and for me it just wasn't very natural. I couldn't get in the habit of doing it. So being able to just quickly like raise your wrist, and it recognizes that you're talking, and it's going to go ahead and start a search. You can then invoke a phone call. You can say, "Call my wife," instead of having to say, "Hey Siri," and then say that action, which now I'm setting off all of my stuff in the room that has the screen on. But nonetheless, I'm sure that you have tried using Siri before. maybe even on an Apple Watch, and simply being able to rotate your wrist and have that work that way is great. Now, what's really cool is if it doesn't detect anything, I can rotate my wrist up and the screen's just going to come on. It's not going to go into the Siri search mode, which I think is pretty intelligent of the watch and the software itself, for it to do that. Because when I'm laying in bed and I don't want to invoke Siri, I can rotate my wrist and have the screen come up. The lights come on the watch without invoking Siri. So there's some sort of magic happening there, and I absolutely like it, because I definitely, when I put my phone off to the side and don't use my phone, and there's a video I did on the top ways that I use my Apple Watch, and I encourage you to check out that video. One of those things is using my Apple Watch and being able to leave my phone somewhere else temporarily, because my Apple Watch can do the main things that I need a phone for, and just not having to carry that phone on me all the time. So the raise to speak, absolutely fantastic. Did you know you can also change your custom replies for SMS? So those custom replies that show up in a text message, when you kind of swipe up and you see those custom replies, you can add your own. You just have to do it from your phone. So it's very simple to do that. You can go into the Watch app. So we'll go into the Watch app here. We'll scroll down or swipe down to messages, and then right here you see default replies, and if you swipe down even further, you can add your own custom replies. You can even edit and remove replies that you would never use. But the fact of the matter is you can add your own custom replies, and then just, instead of having to speak them into the watch or scribble them into the watch, or the different various ways that you can interact with your watch to reply, those responses are just there automatically, and it's not really apparent unless you go and you wouldn't find it in the watch itself, because you don't set those up in the watch itself. You set them up in the Apple Watch app. So that's definitely a good feature. Not something that's specific to the Watch 4, but definitely something super useful that I utilize on the Watch 4. So number 5 is specific, which is customizing your infograph watch face. Now, some will say that that's just too much information. They don't need that much information on a watch face, which I would then say, why have the Apple Watch at all if all you want is time on a device or time and a date? There are plenty of watches that do that don't have to be charged every night or two. Having an Apple Watch kind of defeats the purpose unless you utilize some of the features. I absolutely love the infograph face because it gives me all the things that I want to be able to know at a glance on a watch face. So some of the bonus things that are really just tips in general for Watch OS is, so when you push in the crown and you get your list of apps, you typically have that cluster of app circles, which to me is just really not easy to use, because you have to remember what icon represents your app, and a lot of these app developers change their icons every now and then you don't know where your app is. So when you're on the app screen, whether it's the list that I'm about to show you or all of the little grid or whatnot, if you press and hold on that screen, you're going to get the option to change that from the grid to a list, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And I do that because I don't want that app grid. I want the list. It's very easy just with the crown to be able to kind of scroll up and down and see your entire list of apps. It remembers where it was, so it doesn't always start out at the top again. So if there's an app that you are constantly accessing, it just starts right back off where it was. I think switching to that is really great. Another thing is being able to connect to a different Wi-Fi network from within the watch. So if you do decide to leave your phone behind, you can connect to a different Wi-Fi, such as maybe you show up at a Starbucks, you don't have your phone on you, but you want to connect to your watch so that you can see like notifications from other apps. You can connect to Wi-Fi very easily by going into the settings and then going into Wi-Fi. So we'll go into Wi-Fi, and it's going to show you a list of Wi-Fi networks. You can tap on one, scribble in the password if there is one, and then it will connect to that Wi-Fi network. I think that's a great option. And then, of course, for weather is even being able to add additional locations in the watch. whereas you weren't able to do that previously. You had to either do that from the phone, and then of course prior to that, the watch didn't even accept alternate locations. It was just simply your default location, and that's it. So now I can have multiple locations in here, which I think is great. You can actually have it mirror your phone if you want, or you can add them directly into the app here just simply by scrolling to the bottom and clicking add and scribbling or typing in the name of the town. So those are some cool things. Those are like 5 tips plus a couple of bonus ones because those are not Apple Watch 4 specific at all. I hope that you found it useful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. If you want to find out more or see more videos from us here on State of Tech, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell next to it so you get notified when we put out videos. Hey, what's your favorite tip? Share that down in the comment section below. I'm always learning too. I don't know it all. I'm just reporting the things that I find useful for all of you. So I learn too by the comments that you guys leave down below. So definitely do that, and I hope to see you back here in the next one.